The Laughing Council. The crystalline halls of the Galactic Empire's Supreme Council chamber resonated with laughter. Not the warm, genuine kind that springs from joy, but the cold, mocking variety that cuts deeper than any blade. Ambassador Zektar of the Vortanian hegemony couldn't contain his amusement as he reviewed the tactical data floating before the assembled representatives. "Look at these specifications," Zektar wheezed through his breathing apparatus, his four arms gesturing wildly at the holographic display. "The humans call this antiquated piece of scrap metal a destroyer. Their entire fleet consists of vessels that wouldn't qualify as cargo haulers in any civilized system." The other council members joined in the ridicule. The ethereal delegate's translucent form pulsed with colors of derision, while the mechanized synthery representative calculated the exact probability of human failure minus 99.97%, with a margin of error so small it wasn't worth mentioning. 3 light years away, Commander Voran Torres stood on the bridge of the U.S. Relentless, completely unaware of the mockery directed at his species. The destroyer might have looked outdated compared to the Empire's sleek vessels, but Torres knew something the aliens didn't. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and near-extinction events not through superior technology, but through sheer stubborn refusal to give up. "Commander, we're receiving updated orders from Earth Command," Lieutenant Diana Chen announced from her station. Her fingers danced across the console with practiced efficiency. "We're to proceed to Mining Station Nexus 7 and establish a defensive perimeter. Intelligence suggests Empire forces are planning to seize the installation." Torres nodded, his weathered face creasing into a determined expression. "Set course for Nexus 7, maximum sustainable speed. And Chen, send word to the colony to begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel." The Relentless might have been old, but her crew was sharp. They'd spent years training for exactly this scenario, running drills until every action became second nature. While the Empire relied on automation and AI-driven systems, human crews had learned to think on their feet, to adapt and overcome. As the destroyer altered course, its fusion engines flared to life with a distinctive blue-white glow. The ship's hull, scarred from countless micrometeorite impacts and previous skirmishes, bore testament to its durability. Where Empire vessels gleamed with pristine perfection, the Relentless wore its battle damage like badges of honor. Back in the council chamber, Supreme Orchestrator Velinari, leader of the Empire's military forces, addressed the assembly with characteristic arrogance. "The human colony at Nexus 7 produces 30% of the rare earth elements we require for our quantum processors. Their primitive extraction methods are inefficient, but the location is strategically vital. Surely we don't need to deploy significant forces against such inferior opponents," suggested the crystalline ambassador, its faceted body catching and refracting the chamber's ambient light. Velinari's 6 eyes narrowed in what passed for a smile among his species. "A single strike cruiser should suffice. The humans will surrender once they witness our technological superiority. If not, well, we can always rebuild the mining facilities after we've eliminated the pests." The council unanimously approved the operation, their various forms of laughter echoing through the chamber once more. They'd conquered 100 worlds, subjugated dozens of species, and built an empire spanning half the galaxy. What threat could a handful of humans in obsolete ships possibly pose? Meanwhile, aboard the Relentless, the crew prepared for battle with grim determination. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez ran diagnostics on every system, coaxing extra performance from machinery that should have been retired decades ago. In the weapons bay, Gunnery Surgeon Sarah Kim checked and rechecked the manual firing controls, knowing that when push came to shove, human reflexes often trumped computer targeting. "All hands, this is the commander." Torres's voice echoed through the ship's intercom. "We're heading into hostile territory. The Empire thinks we're pushovers, that our technology makes us weak. They're about to learn that it's not the weapon that wins the war, it's the warrior who wields it." The crew's response was immediate and unified. They'd heard similar speeches before, But something felt different this time. This wasn't just another border skirmish or pirate raid. This was the moment they'd been training for, the chance to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. As the Relentless approached Nexus 7, long-range sensors detected multiple Empire vessels converging on the system. The strike cruiser Dominator led the formation, its sleek hull bristling with energy weapons that could vaporize asteroids with ease. Flanking it were two corvettes, swift and deadly, designed to hunt down and eliminate smaller targets. "Commander, we're being hailed," Communications Officer Pavel Volkov reported. "It's the Empire cruiser." "Put it through," Torres ordered, straightening his uniform. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing Strike Commander Kexel of the Vortanian hegemony. His insectoid features were arranged in what humans might generously interpret as a sneer. "Human vessel, you will withdraw immediately. This system now belongs to the Galactic Empire. Resist, and you will be destroyed." Torres stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a gesture of calm authority. "Strike Commander, I'm afraid I can't do that. This mining colony is under Earth's protection. You're the ones who need to withdraw." The alien's mandibles clicked in amusement. "One obsolete destroyer against the might of the Empire. Your courage is admirable, human, but your stupidity is overwhelming. You have 1 solar hour to evacuate. After that, we will take what we want, and your deaths will serve as a warning to others who might consider defiance." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Torres turned to his crew, seeing determination mixed with apprehension on their faces. They all knew the odds, understood that by any logical measure, they were outmatched. "Battle stations," Torres commanded quietly. "All hands to combat positions. Rodriguez, I want every extra joule of power you can squeeze from those reactors. Kim, prep all weapons systems, conventional and nuclear. Chen, calculate firing solutions for multiple targets and feed them to the gunners." As alarms echoed through the ship and crew members rushed to their posts, Torres allowed himself a small smile. The Empire might have superior technology, but they'd made one critical error. They'd assumed that technological advantage guaranteed victory. History had proven time and again that assumption to be fatally flawed. The Relentless settled into position between the Empire forces and the mining colony, a lone sentinel facing impossible odds. In the distance, Nexus 7 glittered like a jewel against the cosmic backdrop, its rotation providing artificial gravity for the 1,000 souls who called it home. "Sir, Empire vessels are powering weapons," Tactical Officer James Warren reported. "Energy signatures indicate they're preparing for a coordinated strike." "Steady as she goes," Torres replied. "Let them make the first move. When they do, we'll show them what humans are made of." The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. On the Empire cruiser, Strike Commander Kexel couldn't believe the humans weren't retreating. His tactical display showed the Relentless holding position, its outdated shields barely registering on his sensors. It would be like shooting fish in a barrel. "Commander, the hour has elapsed," his weapons officer reported. "Shall we commence the attack?" Kexel's antennae twitched with anticipation. "Begin the assault. Target their engines first. I want them helpless when we board. This will be over in minutes." The first salvo of energy weapons lanced out from the Dominator, brilliant beams of focused power that could slice through most shields like tissue paper. They struck the Relentless dead center, expecting to see the human vessel crumple under the onslaught. Instead, something unexpected happened. The destroyer's shields, while technologically inferior, had been modified by human ingenuity. Rather than trying to absorb the full impact, they deflected it at angles, dispersing the energy across a wider area. The ship rocked but held firm. "Return fire," Torres ordered. The Relentless erupted in response, not with elegant energy weapons, but with old-fashioned kinetic projectiles and missiles. The Empire ships, designed to counter energy-based attacks, found themselves facing a barrage of physical ordnance their shields weren't optimized to handle. One missile found its mark on a corvette's engine assembly, the explosion sending the smaller ship spinning out of control. Another projectile, a simple tungsten rod accelerated to incredible speeds, punched through the Dominator's forward shields and left a gaping hole in its pristine hull. On the Empire bridge, confusion reigned. How is this possible? Kexel demanded. Their weapons are primitive. Our shields should stop them easily. Sir, their attack patterns are unpredictable, the tactical officer reported, his voice tinged with something that might have been fear. Our targeting computers can't establish proper lock-ons. It's as if they're firing manually. Indeed, aboard the Relentless, Sergeant Kim and her gunnery crews were doing exactly that. Years of training had honed their skills to a razor's edge. Where computers sought patterns and predictability, human gunners relied on instinct and intuition. They're regrouping, Warren announced. Looks like they're surprised we're still here. Torres nodded grimly. Good. Keep them off balance. Helm, attack pattern Sierra 7. Let's show them what an obsolete destroyer can do when its crew refuses to give up. The Relentless surged forward, its engines pushed beyond safe limits. The ship dove beneath the Empire formation, using the gravity well of a nearby moon to slingshot around and attack from an unexpected angle. More projectiles flew, each one carefully aimed at vulnerable points the human crews had identified through careful study of captured Empire technology. In the council chamber, the assembled representatives watched the battle unfold through quantum-linked sensors. The laughter had died, replaced by stunned silence, as they witnessed their advanced forces struggling against a single human vessel. This is impossible, Ambassador Zektar muttered. They're using tactics we've never seen. Their ship should have been destroyed in the first volley. Supreme Orchestrator Velneri leaned forward, his 6 eyes focused intently on the display. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he'd almost forgotten. Uncertainty. Send reinforcements, he ordered quietly. It seems we've underestimated these humans. But aboard the Relentless, Commander Torres was just getting started. As his ship wove between enemy fire, returning devastating counterattacks that left Empire vessels burning in space, he knew this was only the beginning. The Empire had made a crucial mistake. They'd judged humanity by their technology alone, failing to account for the one factor that had seen humans through every crisis in their history, an absolute refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle for Nexus 7 had begun, and with it, the first chapter in a conflict that would reshape the galaxy forever. First blood. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the U.S. Relentless carved through space, leaving a trail of scorched armor plating and vented atmosphere in its wake. The Empire's corvette Razor's Edge attempted to match the human destroyer's erratic maneuvers, but its crew, accustomed to predetermined battle protocols and computer-assisted warfare, struggled to adapt to the chaos of human combat doctrine. Hard starboard, 40 degrees down angle. Commander Torres barked, gripping the command chair's armrests as the ship lurched violently. The inertial dampeners, already stressed beyond design specifications, whined in protest. Fire tubes 3 and 4. Twin torpedoes burst from the Relentless's forward launchers, their primitive chemical drives leaving glowing trails across the void. The Empire corvette's point-defense systems, calibrated for energy weapons and smart missiles, failed to recognize the dumbfire projectiles as threats until it was too late. The explosions tore through the Razor's Edge's aft section, sending debris spinning into the darkness. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien vessel as critical systems failed in cascade. Direct hit. Weapons Officer Kim reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. Their engines are offline, and I'm reading massive power fluctuations throughout their grid. On the bridge of the Dominator, Strike Commander Kexel watched in disbelief as one of his escort vessels drifted helplessly, its sleek form marred by gaping wounds. The tactical display showed damage reports flooding in. Systems his engineers claimed were invulnerable had been compromised by weapons that belonged in a museum. "Concentrate all fire on the human vessel," Kexel ordered, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "I want that ship turned to molten slag." The surviving Empire ships responded instantly, their weapon systems locking onto the Relentless with murderous intent. Beams of coherent energy and exotic particles converged on the human destroyer's position, enough firepower to crack a small moon. But Torres had already anticipated the response. "Execute Crazy Ivan," he commanded. The Relentless's engines suddenly cut out, and maneuvering thrusters fired in a complex sequence that sent the ship into a controlled tumble. The Empire's targeting computers, designed for predictable flight paths, lost lock as the destroyer spun unpredictably through space. Most of the incoming fire passed harmlessly through empty space, but several beams found their mark. The Relentless shuddered as energy weapons carved molten furrows across her hull. Warning klaxons blared as damage reports flooded in. "Hull breach, Deck 7. Damage Control Officer Lieutenant Marcus Hoffman called out. "Emergency bulkheads are holding, but we've lost pressure in sections 12 through 15. "Casualties?" Torres asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "3 wounded, no fatalities. Medical teams are responding." The commander nodded grimly. Every life aboard his ship was precious, but they'd been lucky so far. The Empire's weapons were designed for instant kills against shielded targets. The Relentless's strategy of controlled chaos and armor redundancy was keeping them alive, if barely. "Sir, I'm picking up something odd," Sensor Operator Ensign David Park announced, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The Empire ships. They're hesitating. Their attack patterns are becoming defensive." Torres studied the tactical display, noting the subtle shift in the enemy formation. The remaining corvette had pulled back to screen the Dominator, while the cruiser itself had ceased its aggressive advance. They were regrouping, reassessing. "They're scared," he realized aloud. For the first time in their existence, they're facing an enemy that doesn't play by their rules. Meanwhile, at the mining station Nexus 7, Colony Administrator Maria Vasquez watched the battle unfold through long-range sensors. The evacuation was proceeding smoothly, with civilian transports launching in steady succession, but she'd made a decision that would have consequences far beyond this single engagement. "Open a channel to all mining crews," she ordered her communications officer. "Channel open, Mom." Vasquez stepped forward, her weathered face set with determination. "This is Administrator Vasquez. As you all know, Empire forces are attempting to take our home. The Relentless is buying us time, but one ship can't hold them off forever. I'm calling for volunteers to implement Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was something the mining crews had developed in secret, a last resort defense that turned their industrial equipment into weapons. It violated several treaties and would certainly draw Empire retribution, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Within minutes, dozens of miners had volunteered. They began modifying their drilling platforms, turning precision mining lasers into crude but effective weapons. Mass drivers designed to launch ore packets toward processing facilities were recalibrated to fire at much higher velocities. Even the station's tractor beam arrays, normally used to guide asteroids into mining position, were reconfigured for combat applications. Back at the battle, the Relentless had managed to maneuver behind a large asteroid, using it as temporary cover, while damage control teams worked frantically to restore critical systems. The ship's chief engineer, Rodriguez, had somehow coaxed an additional 12% output from the overtaxed reactors, though he warned it couldn't be sustained indefinitely. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Nexus 7, Communications Officer Volkov reported. Administrator Vasquez says they're prepared to assist." Torres raised an eyebrow. "Assist how?" Before Volkov could answer, space around the mining station erupted with activity. Modified mining vessels emerged from concealment, their industrial tools repurposed for war. Drilling lasers, never intended for combat, nevertheless proved devastatingly effective against Empire shields designed to counter military-grade weapons. The first Empire ship to approach the station, a sleek patrol craft, found itself caught in a crossfire of mining beams and accelerated ore chunks. Its shields flared and died under the unconventional assault, and within seconds, the craft was reduced to expanding clouds of debris. On the Dominator's bridge, Strike Commander Kexel watched the destruction of yet another vessel with growing alarm. His tactical display showed dozens of crude but effective weapons platforms emerging from the asteroid field around the mining station. What should have been a simple seizure of assets was turning into a genuine battle. "Strike Commander," his intelligence officer reported, "I'm analyzing the human defensive positions. Their modifications appear to be improvised, using standard mining equipment. By all calculations, they should be ineffective against our technology. And yet they're destroying our ships," Kexel snarled. "How do you explain that?" The officer's multiple eyes blinked in confusion. "I cannot, sir. The humans appear to be operating outside standard parameters. Their tactics are illogical." That was the crux of the matter. The Empire had built its military doctrine on logic, predictability, and technological superiority. They'd conquered worlds by following carefully calculated strategies, overwhelming defenses with precisely applied force. But humans didn't fight by logic alone. They fought with passion, creativity, and a stubborn refusal to accept defeat. "Sir, the human destroyer is emerging from cover," the tactical officer warned. "They're on an attack vector." Indeed, the Relentless had completed what repairs it could and was once again entering the fray. But this time, Torres had a plan. During their brief respite, his crew had noticed something crucial about the Empire's shields. They operated on a predictable frequency rotation, cycling through different configurations to maximize protection against various weapon types. "All stations, implement attack pattern Wolfpack," Torres commanded. "Target their shield generators at these specific intervals." The Relentless surged forward, its weapons firing in a carefully timed sequence. The first salvo was deliberately weak, causing the Empire shields to adjust to a minimal power configuration. The second salvo, arriving precisely 2.7 seconds later, consisted of high-velocity kinetic rounds that punched through the reduced shields before they could readjust. The tactic worked better than anyone had dared hope. The Dominator's starboard shield generator exploded in a shower of sparks and exotic particles, leaving a significant portion of the cruiser's hull exposed. "Pour it on," Torres ordered. "Everything we've got." The Relentless's entire arsenal spoke as one. Missiles, torpedoes, railgun rounds, and even point defense cannons targeted the vulnerability. The mining vessels joined in, their improvised weapons adding to the devastating barrage. The Dominator's hull began to buckle under the onslaught. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches, and internal explosions could be seen through the gaps in its armor. For a warship that had never known defeat, the damage was catastrophic and deeply humiliating. In desperation, Strike Commander Kexel ordered his remaining forces to retreat. The surviving corvette and several smaller vessels began to pull back, their formation dissolving into chaos. But the humans weren't finished. "They're running," Lieutenant Chen observed, a note of disbelief in her voice. "No," Torres corrected grimly. "They're regrouping. And they'll be back with reinforcements. But we've bought time. And we've done something more important. We've shown them they can bleed." As the Empire forces withdrew, leaving behind the burning wreckage of their destroyed vessels, a strange silence fell over the battlefield. The crew of the Relentless, exhausted but victorious, began to realize the magnitude of what they'd accomplished. They'd faced the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but its implications were staggering. Word would spread throughout the Empire's domain. The humans could fight, and they could win. In his ready room, Commander Torres composed his after-action report, knowing it would be studied by military historians for generations to come. He began with a simple statement that would echo through the corridors of power on 100 worlds. First contact with Empire forces resulted in decisive human victory. Enemy casualties: 1 cruiser severely damaged, 1 corvette destroyed, 1 patrol craft destroyed, multiple smaller vessels damaged or destroyed. Human casualties: 3 wounded, 0 killed. The Empire has been bloodied. Recommend immediate reinforcement of all human colonies. This is only the beginning. Far away, in the crystal chambers of the Empire's Supreme Council, the laughter had long since died. The assembled representatives watched the censor recordings of the battle in stunned silence, their earlier mockery now a bitter memory. Ambassador Zektar was the first to speak, his voice subdued. Perhaps we've underestimated these humans. Supreme Orchestrator Velneri's response was measured but carried an undertone of concern that hadn't been present before. Dispatch the Third Fleet to the Nexus sector. I want that human colony eliminated and their destroyer captured for study. We need to understand how they achieved this anomaly. But even as the orders were given, a seed of doubt had been planted. The Empire had encountered something it hadn't faced in centuries, an enemy that refused to be intimidated by superior technology, that fought with unpredictable creativity, and most disturbing of all, that seemed to grow stronger when faced with impossible odds. The battle for Nexus 7 was over, but the war for the galaxy's future had just begun. And in the depths of space, aboard a battered destroyer that had no right to still be flying, humans prepared for the next round with grim determination. They'd drawn first blood. Now they had to make it count. This completes parts 1 and 2 of your HFY story. Each part is approximately 2,000 words, featuring entirely new characters and following the style and requirements you specified. The story maintains the third-person perspective throughout and emphasizes human creativity, resilience, and determination against overwhelming odds.